let's talk about some accessories. Now these are kind of the forgotten pieces of an install, and lots of times, you know, whether you're a retailer building a system or a customer that's saving up, these are some of the things that you kind of forget about that you realize you need. So it's really important to have a brand that's going to have the value there, that is not going to be a huge amount of money to put out, but still have the quality and the forethought in the product to be able to spend the money that you have and feel good about it and feel that you got a good value. So from dead sound, fuse holders, line driver, EQs, head units, and power wire, Electra is a full line brand. Accompanied with the Canada Sounds speakers, it makes for a complete line that any retailer can pick up and fill their needs. And one good thing about the Electra line is we have a high content CCA. So this is sort of what I would call hybrid cable. It is a CCA cable, so we are a little more cost effective than your pure copper cable. But that being said, it's high copper content, so we're 30%, where a lot of CCA cables are 5 or 10%, and it's going to help with your corrosion protection and also help with protecting the aluminum core. Some of the little known facts about aluminum core wire is that it actually does flow electricity just fine, but it's the corrosion that we have to worry about. And with a 30% copper content, you're going to protect against corrosion even in our harsh environments. That being said, with the fuse holders, it's going to give you a little extra protection. We have double O-ring inners and outers on both the 0 gauge and 4 gauge fuse holder. We have the interior fuse holders available as well in MiniANL and full ANL sizing. We have the 4-way distro block, which allows 0 gauge in, 0 gauge out, and then 4 fused outputs, and also ground distribution, all handled in with one small chassis. So this is going to be able to get all your power management in a nice, neat, orderly fashion with natural power flow in and out, which makes for a nice, neat install. I love this piece. We've actually sold a ton of them, and it has been great. It's nickel plated, brass internals, so it is going to last a long time. And again, like a lot of Electra stuff, we have a nice long choke point for that fastener, so we're going to be able to get a lot of wire clamped down on those terminals. We have distribution blocks. These T's and this style here with the blown fuse indicator distro, these guys allow, because you have an in and you can have outs on either side, so you can actually link these in series. So if you have a larger system, it makes for really neat power flow. If you are just actually adding, then you can do your fused on your smaller mid-range amps and then keep your larger sub amp on just a straight flow 0 gauge protected by the underhood fuse instead. So we actually have a full line of RCA cables, true twisted gamma corrected cable, 24 karat gold plated ends. You know, RCA cables, there's a million of them out there, but it is a nice flexible jacket. And one thing I do like about these guys, even though it is a nice protected end, so that where the wires meeting solder connections is protected, so they're not going to break off, it is short. A lot of higher end gamma corrected cables, the manufacturers worry too much about finishing, and if that cable is super tight when you put your head unit in, you're going to end up pinching at the base or where your amp goes, and it's unneeded mass. So these guys are clean and efficient. They protect without adding a bunch of mass, so it does make the install a little bit neater. Talking about head units, we do have a single DIN head unit. Single DIN head unit has true 2-volt RCA outputs. It has front, rear, and dual sub outputs, which is important because in some of the value-based head units, you get a single model out, which you're buying an extra splitter. So we're going to save you some of that money. Standard DIN radio connection, so European vehicles that can be direct connection without a wiring harness. Selectable RGB front, so you're able to customize. I have Acura RSX with this head unit, and it's got the red dash lights that they're famous for, so I have mine set to red. It looks just like factory, actually it matches perfectly. Volume knob on the front, which is nice because the volume knob is quicker, easier access to turn the volume up and down. We have app controlling Bluetooth functions, so when we go into skip songs, if you're listening to YouTube music or even watching YouTube video, the skip functions do affect the app. so we are able to control in the native Bluetooth. Couple nice features about the face of this guy. So on the face, we have 2.1 amp fast charge output dedicated for charging that device. We have a thumb drive port, so we're able to put music dedicated, whether it's FLAC files or MP3s, we're able to put those directly on the front. SD card, we load on the front, and we can have that SD card load all the time with our favorite songs, and just have that, or if you're a competitor, you can have your competition music loaded on there, so you always have it. You never at a comp looking for a thumb drive, asking for music. And we do have an Aux Port on the front, so that is a nice little feature for those of us that have phones with the output. The phone I have has a built-in DAC, so I actually prefer that over the Bluetooth, so I'm able to speak directly into it and have good sound quality and not lose anything to the Bluetooth streaming. So other than that, it is a single DIN head unit. It's pretty straightforward, but it is feature rich for the price. It makes a great piece that fills all the voids of a standard single DIN. Outperforms now rated at 2 volt. That's across the full frequency. So what that means is lots of manufacturers will rate 3 or 4 or 5 volt, but they do it at one particular frequency that's a much easier, less of a load on the device, and it's an unfair way of rating. So I 100% have had one of these units outperformed by triple a standard 2 volt, what one of the competitors rate 2 volt. This thing outperformed by triple, what the other one was at max volume. This one was at a quarter volume. So it definitely does outshine on the pre-outs. So don't let the 2 volt pre-out fool you. It's just honestly rating. Like the rest of the products, they are honestly rated. They're underrated, if anything. So this will perform more like what you've seen in a 4 or 5 volt pre-out head unit that other guys have rated. They're just being a little more honest about it. So that being said, we have the Electra in-dash EQ, and I actually do love a standard analog EQ. Now in the world of DSP definitely is king right now. But that being said, there's something to be said about an analog dial that does make easy setup, especially for fine tuning. So you can have a DSP all you want, but if you want to make those fine tunes, you're not going to be on the road whipping out that laptop to try to change things. It's nice to have an in-dash line driver that is also an EQ. So up to 8 volt RMS output from that guy. He does come in a little hot, so you want to make sure your manufacturer ratings for your amplifiers are rated for that full 8 volt output. Auxiliary in and master gains. Also the deck does have a 20 band EQ in that as well. So while we're talking about EQs, so 7 band here, 20 band EQ there. A lot of feature rich stuff for very affordable pricing. Pricing is all available on the cansoundshop.ca. Now that being said, when we're talking about pricing, Dead Sound is one of those things that whether it's a retailer and we're trying to make the best of a system, or we're a consumer, one big thing is lots of times Dead Sound, we can all testify that Dead Sound does help reduce vibration. It makes the car quieter. It even helps have that nice solid door close. Some people make a big deal about Mercedes, BMW cars having that really firm door close, and that even can help make that feel like a more valuable car. It takes the tinniness out of the doors, out of the floor, out of the roof. But the problem is, lots of times, you spend your budget on your speakers, your amps, your mids. So this is kind of the last thing. It's kind of the forgotten thing. And a lot of people, they run out of budget. So this stuff comes in right around the $5 a square foot. So it's super affordable. But that being said, it's not a cheap product. We're at just about a 2.5 mil thickness. So 100% butyl. So that being said, we're going to be able to outperform almost by double a lot of the cheaper Dead Sounds out there. So it is, a lot of guys are buying cheap Dead Sounds, but then they're putting on one layer, finding out it's enough, and buying another layer, a Dead Sound. Two problems with that: you've now wasted a bunch of money, and you kind of got robbed because the manufacturer set you up for failure. The other problem is Dead Sound doesn't love sticking to Dead Sound. Dead Sound is meant to stick to painted and primed metals. So when you put in multiple layers, sometimes you have adhesion issues. So it's best to use one layer and do it right. So that is an awesome thing that the Canada SQ Dead Sound does provide, is that you can get it done in one layer. And Now, another unique feature about this, because all dead sounds are the same, but this one has nice embossing. And the embossing, now it looks cool. It's a cool honeycomb pattern that kind of makes it, that modern look. But at the same time, what the embossing does is allows the material to stretch. And how that happens is when we go to roll around a contour, because no panel in a car is perfectly flat. This product is going to let you roll around contours, and the embossing is going to help stretch the material to lay down the way it needs to lay and avoid those hard kinks. We've all put dead sound on to a curved panel and have big hard kinks as it rolls around the edge. And where those kinks are, you're creating large air bubbles. So air bubbles can trap moisture indoors. They can trap dust and resins, even rocks and stuff like that. So this will help keep the seal tight, because it's not doing anything if there's air between it and the surface. So it's got to be laid flat. And this is one of those products where it seems like something simple that a lot of guys miss, and it's a simple little touch like the embossing helps install, makes the install easier, and you get a better contact on that surface. So reducing unwanted resonance in a vehicle. A metal door is a horrible place to put a speaker, but it's the only place we usually can. So this will help make that a better acoustic environment, reducing resonance, reducing road noise, helping keeping the bass at highway speeds in the vehicle, all those little things that we love about it. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to us, canadasoundshop.ca, or reach out to us at Last Resort Fabrication here in Red Deer, Alberta. Again, if you're supporting local, you like supporting Canadian brands, there's not many options out there. So just like if you see the product, it's got the maple leaf right on the product. It is a Canadian product. Owners are here in Alberta. I'm here in Alberta and Red Deer. So we're a local company. If you're into supporting that, then fantastic. If that doesn't matter to you and you're just looking for a great price, again, that's another thing that the Electra accessory line provides. It's great pricing, true gauge power bar.